All right, YouTube, what is going on? It is Zaya here, back with another video. And in this video, I am very excited, guys, because we are finally about to get to the actual season. We are finally about to get to the 2023-2024 season. And I'm bringing you this series. And so this series is going to be called Game Previews or something along those lines, where essentially I take a look at the upcoming game that the Steelers are going to play, and I see, where the Steelers are at that point in life and what it took to get us to that point. And then same thing with the other team. So, of course, with this being preseason week -1 at this point, because it's the preseason, with this being that, there's really not any games for the Steelers or the Buccaneers to go by, so for me to talk about. So I'm going to talk about a lot of training camp stuff, of course, for the Steelers and what I want to see from the Steelers. And then I'll kind of talk about the Bucs. I'll give you guys some surface information about what I know about Tampa Bay. Of course, things are going to be a little different for Tampa Bay than they have been the past couple years. The Steelers, we're playing our players. We are playing our starters for at least a quarter. If you guys remember the first preseason game last year, we had Mitchell Trubisky as our starting quarterback. He was a new addition, and he got to play the first game, and I think he played the first quarter. And so honestly, I expect Kenny to get similar time played than Mitch got last season. So Mitch got a quarter in game 1. I think Kenny will likely get something similar to that. I'm gonna bring up the depth chart real quick just because I do want to look at some names. Mike Tomlin did say, if you're healthy, you're playing in this week 1. And so I don't know if every single starter is gonna play for us. But here, actually, I'm gonna move my camera around because we do got to see these third and fourth strings real quick. So. Looking at quarterback, like I said, I imagine Kenny will get a quarter. I imagine Mitch will get a quarter, and then maybe Mason and Tanner both split. And now in future games, because some games like it's only backups and only third string players playing. Maybe week 2 or 3 that happens, but looking ahead, we'll see when that happens. But as far as quarterback plays, I know Kenny is going to play for a little bit. Mitch is probably going to play for a little bit. And Mason, he is our third string quarterback. He's likely going to play for a little bit. But I would like to see, who this Tanner Morgan guy is. Maybe he gets in over Mason. I don't know. But maybe Tanner Morgan's a star. Maybe Tanner Morgan is going to be our third string. This is what the preseason can do for us. If we look at running backs right below, Jaylen Warren, who is now our second string running back, he really shined in the preseason. And I expect Jaylen Warren to get a decent amount of runs. Definitely a decent amount of runs. I definitely think Naj will get some runs too. Probably a lot of Anthony McFarland and Darius Higgins as well. But I expect Naj to get some snaps. I don't think he'll play, the whole first quarter. But I definitely do expect Naj to get some snaps. Jaylen Warren, I expect him to get a decent amount of snaps as well. But really, I think it's going to be on McFarland and Higgins and maybe Warren as well. But I really think it's going to be about McFarland and Higgins and maybe any other, running backs we have. Next, wide receivers. Really, the big story has been George Pickens throughout this training camp. George Pickens has really been lighting it up. And so if you guys remember the first preseason game last year when Mitch was in, I believe it was either Mitch or Mason. It might have been Mason now that I'm thinking about it, but somebody threw George Pickens a deep touchdown and for his first touchdown in the league. So with that said, man, I hope George Pickens plays. I hope we can get a similar play to that. And he's, like I said, he's been lighting it up in training camp. And I just realized my webcam is still, in the bottom right part of the screen. I apologize. But yeah, we'll see about George Pickens. And honestly, I would like to see a lot of Calvin Austin, or as much as possible. As we know, he didn't play last season. And so this is going to be, if he plays, his first, game action. So I definitely want to see a lot of Calvin Austin. I think Gunnar Olszewski, if you look next to him, I think Gunnar Olszewski is kind of fighting for a spot here. And so I think seeing Calvin and I think seeing Gunnar, not only as wide receivers, but we'll see how the special teams goes with the punting and the kicking and all that, and who's punting, punt returning, who's kick returning. So we'll see. We'll definitely see about those two positions. And then Miles Boykin, I imagine he'll play a little bit. But really, I think it's going to be about like Cody White, Jordan Byrd, Dez Fitzpatrick, Hakeem Butler. These Hakeem Butler, Dez Fitzpatrick, and Jordan Byrd. These are 3 players that I've been hearing a bunch about, and I haven't seen them play at all because, of course, I'm pretty sure they're all new. Maybe not Dez Fitzpatrick, but I think they're all new to the Steelers. And, looking at their positions on the depth chart, we got second, third, fourth strings. I imagine they'll get a lot of play. I didn't mention Deontay as the standings pop up. I didn't mention Deontay, but I mean, maybe he'll play, but we know about Deontay. I would like to see Allen Robinson play a little bit. I would like to see, just how he looks in game action. But if we drop down to the tight ends, really, if we look at the fourth string, this is a bit of a surprise to me. I know the Steelers released their depth chart, but if we look at fourth string tight ends, Darnell Washington all the way in the fourth string. Now, of course, with certain packages that we run, the fourth string, like Darnell Washington is going to be out there blocking for us, So I think he can be listed fourth string, but in run heavy packages, like I think Darnell Washington will be on the field. Regardless, though, I would like to see Darnell Washington play a decent amount as well. Him and Connor Hayward, really, because I mean Muth is Muth. We know about Muth, and then I'm gonna kind of move myself to a to a nice spot on the screen. We know about Muth. And then Zach Gentry, same thing. We know about them. Like, they do their thing. And so if they play, Tomlin said, if you're healthy, you're playing for a little bit. So I imagine we'll see them. But really, what we all want to see is Connor Hayward and really Darnell Washington. We all want to see Darnell Washington, Mike Tomlin, and Matt Canada and Omar Khan and everybody else. We want to see Darnell Washington play. So he can be listed as the fourth string, but we want to see him play. Looking at the line, really, there's a bunch of line pieces that will play. Kendra Green, I forgot to mention this. He's listed as the backup center. And he's been playing a lot of fullback as well, which isn't technically, on the depth chart. But he's been doing a lot of that, so we'll see if that ends up happening in the game. But really, I think the only position on the offensive line that's like really, something to look out for is, of course, Dan Moore versus Broderick Jones. Now, I did see a tweet from Nick Farbaugh, who works with Steelers now. I think he's like a beat writer or something like that. He's on this page. Anyway, I did see something from him that said, please get off my screen, Soccer. What are we doing? Are we messing up the video, Soccer? I'm sorry. That said that Broderick Jones is really good in run blocking, like already. He's already really good at run blocking. But the pass protection is where things are left to be desired so far at this point. And of course, week 1, we're playing the 49ers, and week 2, we got the Browns, and week 3, I forget who we have week 3, maybe like the Raiders, or maybe they're week 4. But early on, we have a lot of star pass rushers, a lot of star edge players. And so to throw Broderick Jones into the fire that early, hey, man, the Steelers, this is what they, picked 14 in the draft. I don't know if that's high enough, but he's going to be on the bench. And I don't want to super be Broderick Jones needs to play. I don't want to be super like that because, they're the ones who are actually seeing this. And if they believe Dan Moore is a better overall protection for Kenny Pickett, then hey, who am I to deny that? But, we've seen Dan Moore play for a while. We've seen Dan Moore not play good for a while. And so I'm really looking forward to Broderick Jones overtaking that starting spot. But I think for now, Dan Moore is the starter. He is the listed starter. We talked about this weeks ago, and here it is. He's the listed starter. So it is what it is. I mean, definitely, guys, listen. Definitely watch out for the left tackle spot, and definitely keep receipts. Because, if Dan Moore, this could prove to be the Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett situation that we found ourselves in last year. And granted, maybe Kenny Pickett wasn't ready, but then we threw him in the game against the Jets. I think it was against the Jets, down in the game, the middle of the third quarter. He hasn't practiced with the first team, and we just threw him out there. We just threw Kenny out there. And so if we can do that with Kenny, Broderick Jones picked, 3-4 picks higher than Kenny, and we traded up to get him. Broderick Jones can't get thrown into the fire. Hey, we'll see. But I think that is definitely a conundrum, definitely some question marks surrounding that. But all that to say, if you see left tackle tweaking, if you see Dan Moore tweaking, make sure you let the Steelers know because, hey, maybe they don't see it yet. Maybe, they're still in on Dan Moore. I don't know. This right here, these two, left inside linebacker, right inside linebacker, hey, man, I'm really excited to see Cole Holcomb, Layden Roberts, and Quan Alexander play. I really am excited to see what they can bring to the team. We also have Tanner Muse, Mark Robinson, and Nick Kwiatkowski or something like that. I don't know. Hey, man, Nick, you're probably going to get a lot of snaps. Make me learn your last name, man. Same thing with Chappelle Russell. I haven't seen him play, but hey, maybe he'll get into the game. We really want to see Cole and Layden if they are playing, and Quan. Cole and Layden and Quan if they're playing. We want to see them do good. We want to see the hit stick being laid. I understand it's week 1 of the preseason, but we've been lacking in that department. And so we want to see the hit sticks. We want to see runs stopped if they get past the first level. We want to see them stopped at the second level promptly. You know, we don't want Minka having to chase somebody down, you know, and this happens a lot. Minka plays close a lot too. He kind of plays in the second level a lot, but you know what I mean. We don't want the runs getting past the linebackers, because if you guys know about the Steelers and you guys know about our run defense, the preseason and running, this is like a recipe for a disaster, because how it's been the past couple years, we face a backup running back and it's lights out. It's career game, Olympic gold medal, all-star highlights, Gatorade player of the game. Like whoever the backup running back is, it's clipped for us. So in the preseason, everyone's a backup, it seems, you know, besides the starter. And we'll look at the Tampa Bay depth chart in a second. We'll see, but we want to see Cole Holcomb and Layden Roberts play really well early as possible. If it's not this game, week 2, week 3 of the preseason, we want to see the you guys playing well. Looking at Alex Highsmith, I mean, we really got to talk about Highsmith. The dude's a 99 overall. He's playing even better this year than he was last year so far. Like, it's shit's crazy. Alex Highsmith is a dog. Patrick Peterson, I want to see how Patrick Peterson and Joey Porter Jr. mesh together. Also, of course, Levi Wallace, James Pierre. We got to see James Pierre out there, man. But Levi Wallace, we'll see him. But really, we want to see Joey Porter Jr. and we want to see Patrick Peterson, how they do. And then looking at the strong safety position, DeMonte KZ and Keanu Neal, it doesn't say it here, but DeMonte KZ and Keanu Neal are both the starter. Like, we don't have a set starter yet. I think maybe KZ just, you know, off default gets this number 1 spot, but the Steelers' official depth chart says KZ and Keanu Neal. It's like or. So there's no you know, lead strong safety yet. We'll see if it's going to be like that the whole year, or maybe this is just a preseason thing. But I definitely want to see how KZ and Keanu Neal or Elijah Riley or Miles Kilbrew, I definitely want to see how they have the position on lock. Now, of course, this is the preseason, and so we can't take everything away from it. But we had Terrell Edmonds, who I've said up and down was a solid starter for us, and we just got rid of him. So, hey, KZ, Keanu Neal, I hope you guys can play as well as Terrell Edmonds did. And same thing with like Joey Porter Jr. and Patrick Peterson. We lost Cameron Sutton. I feel like we lost another corner too, but I just can't think of his name. We lost those guys, and so Patrick Peterson specifically. Patrick Peterson, we need you to be Cameron Sutton. That's really it. We lose Cameron Sutton, we get Patrick Peterson. That's what we're hoping for. So hopefully, Patrick, you know, if Patrick's a little older, but if, you know, he does play week 1 in the preseason, we want to see him look good. And then, I mean, punters, Brandon Mann and Presley Harvin, I think this is a battle. Chris Boswell, BT Potter, less of a battle, but if Boswell super fucks up and Potter's hitting the kicks, you know, Boswell could lose. But really the battle is going to be between the punters, and then same thing with punt and kick return, Calvin Austin and Gunnar Olszewski really going at it. Jordan Bird as well in the punt and kick return third string, you know, we'll see if he gets a chance. But definitely, guys, look out for the punts. Who's the better punter between Presley and Braden? I've said Brandon every time I've said Braden's name. I apologize, Braden. But look out for the punts between them, and then also look out for the punt return, kick return from Calvin and Gunnar. Who's going to win this week 1, and Jordan Bird? Who's going to win this preseason week 1 thing? Who is going to solidify themselves? Really, I think it has to be Calvin Austin by default, given the fact that we drafted him and given the fact that we've been like kind of holding out for him, you know? But yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see. And then long snapper, I really don't think this is a battle. We don't got to talk about the long snapper, bro. But really, I kind of went through the roster. I didn't expect to do that, honestly, but really what we want to see is we want to see us moving the ball, especially if we're having our all starters out on the first drive. We need to move that fucking football. We need to get first downs, and we need to fucking put a touchdown down Tampa Bay's throat. That's what we need to do, really, because how many podcast episodes has it been? It's been what, maybe 2-3 episodes that I haven't mentioned Matt Canada. But guess what, Matthew? Guess what? We're back. We're back to the season, and you're on the hot seat, buddy. You've been on the hot seat. And so we need to see the ball being moved. We need to see positive plays. We need to see drives ending in points. If it's 3 points, then fuck it. But we need to get points. And we need to see the middle of the field. We need to see the middle of the field being used more. That's the big. If we can see a bunch of passes to the middle of the field, if we can see some kind of Kenny runs and he doesn't get hurt, please do not get hurt, Kenny. But if we can see some designed quarterback runs, Just enough to show that, like, yeah, it's in the playbook and it's coming, you know, because we don't got to OD, but just enough to see design, just enough to see it. And then I want to see us running the football hard. I want to see what Jalen Warren and Anthony McFarland, who had a great preseason last year, I want to see what they can do with with the kind of new pieces on the O line. And then from there, it's just about individual battles and individual performances, I guess, because a lot of the offense, like the wide receiver departments, we kind of already know. There's really only like Calvin, Austin, Gunner, and some of the other people, Miles Boykin, trying to make the team. But we know about like the lead people in that position. Same thing with the line besides left tackle. We know about all that. Tight end, same thing. Oh, and Darnell Washington. I almost forgot to mention that too. Darnell Washington. That we need to Kenny runs, passes to the middle of the field, scoring points, and Darnell Washington. That's what we need to see out of the Steelers. And then defense, let's not let up a point, shall we? How about 0 points? 0. If we can blank them, I'll be happy. But we'll see. Now. I want to talk about the Bucs. I want to get to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because there is some things I want to talk about. Now, like I've mentioned very early in the video, once we get to week 2 and in the future, it's going to be much easier to talk about things because there will be things to talk about, you know? Unless you're a really big Bucs fan, like unless you're kind of keying into the Bucs, at least me, I don't really know. But I do know that Baker Mayfield is the starting quarterback on Friday night against the Pittsburgh Steelers. If we look at the Buccaneers depth chart, Baker Mayfield right here. So between him and Kyle Trask, I saw Kyle Trask will be starting in week 2. He's going to start the next week. And so Baker and Kyle Trask, they're having a battle of it. And of course, Baker, the former Browns quarterback who beat us in the playoff game. Steelers fans, we want to see you suck, Baker. I'm sorry. We want to see you done, bro. But me, I mean, if he plays well, I don't really care. I don't really have the biggest gripe with Baker. I don't want to see him get murked from the league, but if he's not good enough to play, then that is what it is. But, Baker, yeah, maybe show him something. You got us once, Baker. Maybe you get us again. Maybe you solidify yourself between Kyle Trask. Speaking of that, too, I have Baker's stats up here. This is how we finished the season last year on the Rams. You remember that Thursday night game against Vegas? That one was pretty big. And then the following week against the Green Bay Packers. If you guys remember this game, this was a horrible game from Baker. He was throwing picks. And then, really, he finishes the season kind of averagely. We're below average, really. But it's Baker. We got a 51 rating, an 80 rating, 124 against Denver. They smoked Denver. 24-28. This Denver game out of Baker was cooking this one. But really, kind of below average at the end of the season. We look at, before he got traded from Carolina, this is what it was looking like. Really not the best film to be putting out there. If we look at the touchdown to interception ratio, it's 10-8. QBR 24.5. That does not look good. 24.5 seems terrible. And so Baker, man, he's fighting for his life. He's fighting for his job now. So we'll see we'll see how Baker plays. And then same thing with Kyle Trask. I think he'll probably come in later in the game, and then he's going to be the starter in the second game for the Bucs. We'll see how Kyle Trask plays as well. We'll see if he's able to get something going here. I believe I have his stats up, which really, he didn't play much. And I noticed this before I was setting up, guys. Can you guys help me with this? So if you look, it says 2022 regular season, right? And then Sunday 1-8 against Atlanta, 30-17. This is the game. But then if we go to Baker Mayfield stats, Isaiah, I'm just realizing this in the moment. Baker Mayfield was on the Rams and Kyle Trask was on the Bucs. If we look at Kyle Trask's stats, he's really only had the one game. There's really not much to go by. There's 3 completions for 9 attempts. I believe he's been behind Tom Brady this whole time. So, there's that too. That hasn't been working for him. But, you only got Baker Mayfield to beat out. Like, last year you were behind Tom Brady, which is fucking impossible, right? This year, though, Baker Mayfield, you can win that. Kyle Trask can win that job, right? There's John Wolford, too. We'll see how he plays, but it is what it is. If we look at the other positions, I don't want to go through their whole depth chart here. But if we look at some other positions, they still have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. No Gronk, no Leonard Fournette. They're all gone. No Tom Brady, like I mentioned. They're all gone. So, yeah, we'll see Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I don't know if they're going to play their starters, but we'll see how our corners can line up against Mike Evans and Godwin and Russell Gage if they do play. That'll definitely be a cool test. Chase Edmonds, their second-string running back. Rashad White, their first-string running back. We'll see how our linebackers do. slash our front four. We'll see how they do. Matt Filer, former Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's get a gunshot from Matt Filer, left guard, starting left guard for the Bucs. We'll see him. No, I don't know why I thought Ryan Jensen was a Steeler, but Ryan Jensen has been a Buck, and Ryan Jensen is a great player. So shout out to him. Okay, now is that Sean Tucker? Oh my God, the Bucs have Sean Tucker. He's from Syracuse. We need to see Sean Tucker. If Sean Tucker plays, we got to see Sean Tucker play. Sean Tucker he's pretty good at Syracuse. He's a rookie. I didn't even realize they had him. That's a surprise to me. I'm looking forward to seeing Sean Tucker play if he does. Fourth string though, listed as fourth string. That's tough. We'll see though. But now some other defensive positions I wanted to mention because, I am a fan of the University of Pittsburgh, Pitt. I am a fan of them, and of course, if you look at the Bucs, not only do they have Kalijah Cansey, Pitt first round draft pick number 19. Shout out to Pitt. Not only do they have Kalijah Cansey, who is the starter, and they're doing the soccer thing again to me, who is the starter, they also have Servassier Dennis, another Pitt guy who is a middle linebacker who I'm telling you guys, I don't want to come out and say he's going to be a star. I don't want to come out and say he's going to be this, he's going to be that. But I do remember really wanting to take Servassier Dennis later in the draft. And I do remember him being a very key piece of the Pitt defense, last year and the years before. Servassier Dennis was a playmaker for Pitt. And honestly, I think the Bucs got a steal. I'm excited to see him play. And if you look, where is he at? Servassier Dennis, if you look, Ulysses Gilbert also on the Buccaneers. He's a former Steeler as well. But if you look, there is a third string, and he's not in the third string. And this is a fifth round pick. So Servassier Dennis hopefully gets a decent amount of action. But watch out for him, guys. Definitely watch out for him, and then also watch out for Kalijah Cansey if he plays. Those are two Pitt players, like I said, that I knew. Really though, I don't want to go once again through their depth chart here. They still have Devin White, they still have Levante David, Shaquille Barrett. They have like the complete opposite of us at the inside linebacker position, to be honest. I think last year it kind of fell off a little bit. But I mean, Levante David, Shaquille Barrett, Devin White, and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. I believe he is a former Cleveland Brown, if I'm not mistaken. If not, then, I'm tweaking here. Maybe he's always been the Bucs. Has he always been a Buck? He's always been a Buck? Okay. Maybe Joe has always been a Buck. Hey, if he ever was on the Cowboys or the Browns, let me know. But yeah, I mean, they have the opposite linebacker core than us, I think. Of course, our outside linebackers with TJ and Alex, TJ better, Alex better. But the inside, they got us beat there, I think. And then you look at even backups. Ulysses Gilbert, I mentioned, former Steeler. And then Servassier Dennis, who I think is going to be pretty good. That's a solid linebacker group in Tampa Bay. And yeah, Antoine Winfield's still there, Jamel Dean's still there, Vita Vea's still there. They got a little squad on defense, so we'll see. Starter or special teams, I really don't know. Oh, Rodrigo Blankenship. Let's give Blankenship a look here. Blankenship, I believe, the former Indianapolis Colts kicker. Now I believe maybe in a position battle here for place kicker. Yay! Look out for this battle between Chase McLaughlin and Rodrigo Blankenship. I really, Chase McLaughlin or McLaughlin. Why am I saying McLaughlin? Is that how you say it? I don't know. I've never heard of this guy really. So shout out to Blankenship. I'm taking him, but definitely look out for that. Look out for this battle. But all right, guys, I think that is going to do it for me for this game preview. As I've mentioned, as the weeks go on, these videos will become better and better because I will be able to look at, the Buccaneers, for example, their previous games, and the Steelers, their previous games, and what's happened to this point. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, if you did, be sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and I will see you after the game. I think this is a game that we can win. Really though, preseason, it's whatever. Who knows who's gonna play? But they got Baker Mayfield starting. Like, are you serious? How can we not win this game? I think we're gonna come back. I think we're gonna come away from this game with a W, with a 1-0 in the column, and yeah, I'm also going to be doing the post-game reactions as well. So definitely a lot of content coming. We're 2 days away from shit really kicking off, and I'm very excited. So yeah, I think that's going to be it for me. I said all the prerequisite outro stuff, so I'm just going to end it here. Peace out, guys. And here we go, Steelers. Here we go.